Well, today on our segment, we engage on a serious conversation on the cause, the impact and the threat of insecurity. Now, just recently, the National Assembly and the Senate suspended their businesses just to talk about the spiraling insecurity followed by the Mandera massacre, where 28 people lost their lives. Now, we have my co-host Elijah Mwangi, who is at the Vigilance House, and he is going to tell us more.
Thank you very much for watching WTV. And as highlighted by my co-host Agnes Minor, it is not business as usual in this country as Kenyans demand for answers when it comes to matters security. The demonstration, dubbed as Occupy Harambee Avenue on Monday, is being seen as a way of Kenyans expressing their grievances in terms of the way matters security are being handled in this country. In fact, some are saying that the government is lacking cards to play this deadly game. Now, but is this really the case? Now, we'll be speaking to the police spokesman, Ms. Zippora Mboroki, on matter security and basically trying to find solutions after this break. So stay tuned to WTV. Welcome back, and we're happy that you're still watching WTV. And as we promised, we are joined now by the police spokesperson, Madam Zippora Mboroki. Welcome to the show, Ms. Mboroki. And first things first, maybe we should look at, following the recent attacks in Mandera. Perhaps you can start by telling us, what is the police doing about that particular issue that left 28 dead in Mandera?
This a surveillance helicopter which was sent to go and facilitate in bringing down the situation and getting the perpetrators. And this one we are assisted by the KDF officers who are there. From that incident, you know very well the terrain of that place. And after these bandits, or the Al-Shabaab as we call them, because there are indications that they had crossed the border to Kenya. And that point, it's very near the border. So they were able to go back. But with the assistance of the KDF, we are very sure that the camps, some of the camps which they had already established, they were attacked by the KDF.
There is a lot of blame game about the way forward. We've seen people shifting blames, and perhaps you can tell us, what can you tell the public, especially at this point in time when it's their lowest moment, about the way forward when it comes to handling security matters?
Remember, when it comes to the security, you cannot say that it's the security officer who is going to assure you of 100%. Even the president said the security starts with you and me. You as a member of the public, what are you doing to make sure that this country is safe? That is the question which each and every member of the public should ask themselves. Me being included as a police officer and you as a civilian, what are you doing to make this country of ours safe? Because if we work together, you give us the information which we have, because the population of the security officers, we cannot be in each and every home, we cannot be everywhere. You know the population, but with the members of the public, they should ask themselves, what are they doing?
Some people fear approaching police officers because, they say recording statements, sometimes a case can turn against you and the hunter becomes the hunted. So as the police officers, what measures do you put in place to ensure that the witness or the person who is recording the case is guaranteed protection and is in a position to push the case to the prosecution level?
We have the measures. If a person comes and gives me an information, and actually in almost every police station, we have the informers who are supposed to give us the information. Me, as the person who is given that information, I have to protect that person from the information which that person is giving me. So we protect those people who give us information. Remember very well, when you are talking about giving the information and somebody being treated as a witness, maybe that person may fear of his death, he may be attacked by those criminals. There is a Witness Protection Act which is in place, which protects that witness. But for those people who give us information, we protect them and we treat that information with a lot of confidentiality.
Police officers mean a lot to us because they put their lives on the line for the sake of this country. And maybe before we even castigate or maybe cast stones to them, maybe we should understand something about police officers. So what should we understand about police officers so that we are not the first to throw or shift blames and blame them for what they do?
With the police officers, we have not come from the trees. We have come from families, from your family. I'm your daughter, I'm your sister, I'm your cousin, I'm your friend. And more to that, I'm a human being like any other human being. Security, it's for all of us. And for us to have a safe environment to work in, a safe environment for our children to go to school, a safe environment for us to go to farming, it's you and me. We try and make the environment safe. You give us information and we act on that information. You come when you are in need and we are going to assist you. And from that, I assure all the Kenyans that with the police, we are there to serve them and we are ready to serve. We are ready to act on the issues and the information which they give us. Please give us the information. That information is the one which we want because we have the tools and we are going to assist you in making this Kenya of ours safe.
Thank you very much, Ms. Zippora Mboroki, for speaking to WTV. Now, well, there you've got it. Security begins with you and me. And we all have a role to play to make this country the Kenya that we want. So stay tuned to Solutions Barabarani.
Insecurity in our country at a high, and with the Mandera incidents being one of the latest in a series of incidences, let's get to hear people's reactions towards the government. Is the government doing enough to curb insecurity in our country? And is it offering the proper protection to its citizens? Let's listen to the voice of Kenyans.
Kweli security haiko mzuri, lakini serikali inaweza kuchukua hatua hii kwa maana ina mkono mrefu, na vile naona wanajua kuzuia ni mzuri kuliko ile kureact. Kwa hivyo wanaweza fanya hiyo kazi ya kuzuia.
Insecure. Yes, I'm insecure. Why? People are more animal-like. We need to elevate human beings to a platform of humanity. Humanity meaning they have to have compassion.
Actually, the issue of insecurity is not only in Kenya, it's everywhere in the world. We have, what actually the people need to have is what we call genuine leaders. We need leaders who actually understand people. And that's why I always prefer, before people choosing what we call leaders, they first must sit down and actually think of themselves what kind of leaders they want to choose.
We need to take morality to them. We need to take education to them. We need to put people to a godly conscience. Mbona wanapigana? Kwa sababu ni wanyama. Elevate them. Peleka maadili kwao. Watu wasome waelewe.
The government should be very serious, especially when giving out the docket, security docket to a person. They must consider somebody who is very much experienced in matters of security, in matters of handling the emergency situation, like the one in Kapedo, the ones in Garis, Mandera. So it's a matter of getting the right person for the job.
We live because we believe that we are protected by God, and actually God is like the best leader. So me, I prefer first people should first seek truth within themselves, and then there they can choose leaders who can actually take care of their issues. And
I think as a Kenyan, when you lose somebody like a teacher from your family, it is the person who have lost the person who feels the pain. So when NAT says that they are members to move from those regions to the safer regions, I think they are in the victim's shoes. They feel the pain of losing somebody. So we cannot keep our people there when they are going to die.
To the government is that those that have been given a position, for the time being, life is too short. So I would actually advise them to use the little time they have to try and to serve the people.
Now, as all these negative occurrences emerge, we always celebrate the people who are always there during the crisis. And once again, we are joined by Elijah Mwangi, who will be talking to one of the Red Cross officials.
Thank you very much. We are glad that you are still watching Solutions Barabarani. Now, this week, as Kenyans mourn the victims of Mandera massacre, we acknowledge the efforts of a specific group of people who will go out of their way to help people during these times of need. And such a group is Red Cross Society of Kenya. So we are joined by Venant Ndingila from Red Cross Society, who is going to tell us what they are undergoing through in order to save lives. Welcome to the show, Mr. Ndingila. So what drives you as a member of the Red Cross? Because I must admit that it takes a lot of effort to work for such an organization.
And whatever we do is always on voluntary basis. That is why you can see people moving towards very unstable areas, in disaster areas, to save lives, to try and alleviate suffering, out of that drive of volunteerism. Yes, so it is basically volunteerism.
Amazing. But before we proceed, there is a need to understand what the Red Cross officials go through in their line of duty. Let's have a look at this clip. Kenya's disaster profile is dominated by droughts, fire, floods, terrorism, technological accidents, diseases and epidemics that disrupt people's livelihoods and destroy the infrastructure. Kenya has had a fair share of disasters. Some have been natural, like floods and famine, while others have been man-made, like the terrorist bombings that have become commonplace in our society of late. Such as the Sinai tragedy, where 100 people died, and Sachagwan petrol tanker tragedy, in which over 100 died. As Kenyans healed the deadly scars, that same week more than 50 perished when a neighboring community in Tana Delta invaded another. As WTV, we appreciate the people who go out of their way during these hard times. Kenya Red Cross Society is one of the many international societies around the world that supports and runs a number of humanitarian projects.
The U.S. is committed to supporting the preparedness in Kenya, and this support has continued to grow, particularly after the U.S. Embassy bombings in 1998, when it became apparent that Kenya needed to strengthen emergency medical services from the disaster. What has become disturbingly familiar in Kenya is the increase of terrorist attacks. We are now more aware and more vigilant and more resilient as a community than ever before.
This is the face of Red Cross Society in Kenya. Every year, Kenya Red Cross Society Nairobi Branch Urban Risk Reduction Team responds to tons of conflict, including collapsed buildings, armed conflict, and the most common fire hazards that affect people living in informal settlements.
We've been doing campaign and awareness sensitization campaigns in the informal settlements, which are mostly affected by fire instances, especially this month, as we look in our database and our instances form.
To overcome lack of coordination, Red Cross Society has started a joint operating procedure to establish mass casualty incident management protocol aimed to bring together agencies and develop guidelines which will call for further practice before final adoption in order to have them incorporated in the National Protocol for Disaster Management. You know, watching that clip, there are some instances that you find yourself in, especially as a member of Red Cross, that are not only scaring, but also very risky. So what are some of the challenges that you encounter in your line of duty?
Again, the challenges is about the changing types of emergencies we are facing every day. We are facing more of sudden onset emergencies which have high casualty, and again which render the areas very unstable even for responders. This is a new kind of emergency, especially the frequency has changed very much apart from the normal natural disasters we usually have. Basically because most of them are very intended emergencies which are intended to cause harm or to cause maximum casualty. So when responding, it is quite a challenge for us to ensure the safety of ourselves and other responders. So we are forced again to review our training. We are forced again to review how we prepare and lastly, how we respond, how we do the actual response in these very unstable situations.
Back to basics, maybe you can tell us how should people react or respond, especially in times of disasters and specifically terrorism?
Initially, we need to understand that terror emergencies or terror incidences are really planned. They're really planned, and again, they are intended to cause as much harm as possible in order to achieve the terror effect. Now, once we find ourselves in such a situation, especially after the initial impact, it is very advisable that from the word go, one should try and reduce the exposure as much as possible. And this is by maybe trying to leave the scene immediately, or trying to find a safer location, a safer position within that environment. And while doing so, it is also very advisable to try and save or move out with any of the injured, or so that also to try and assist in reducing further exposure to them. But most important again is once you evacuate from that place, is to seek help and to try to avoid to go back to that situation or to that particular location, because immediately that environment becomes very unstable.
What would you tell Kenyans, especially at this point in time when they are struggling with security problems in the country?
I would say it is very unfortunate that the country is in this kind of situation. We would advise that much as that might be some disagreement one way or the other, but there are always peaceful means for all the actors. There are always peaceful means to solve our grievances, and again, violence is not the answer. But for the bigger population is to try and maintain ourselves as citizens, and try not to go same way or violent ways of trying to react or to respond to any violent incidences.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ndingila, for sharing your story. And indeed, we believe that your story is shared by the entire Red Cross Society. So now as WTV, we decided to celebrate those people that do a lot to save the lives of this country. And that's why Red Cross Society crossed our minds. We celebrate you for the good work that you are doing.
Well, there you've got it. And indeed, it's always great to appreciate the people who always put their lives in line for the sake of this country. Feel free to interact with us through our Facebook page, that is WTV Kenya, or our SMS line, that is 20058. On behalf of all those who made Solutions Barabarani a success, thanks a lot for watching. I'm your host, Agnes Maina.